Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. I was just watching Sky News and it was the Kay Burley show, and it had about Holocaust Memorial Day. And a very interesting chap, Martin, who was talking about his experiences. I didn't hear that bit. I'll try and see if I can find the clip, stick at the end. But he was talking about his greatest fear, if you wanted to scare him, would be to make him think that if he wasn't Jewish, if he was German during the 30s, during the Depression, and didn't have any Jewish connections, would he have done the same things as other Germans did? Join the Nazi Party, being part of the Holocaust, or doing those types of things, because he was bringing it back to the truth that these things were committed by human beings. They weren't committed by some kind of monster, Hitler, Nazis, SS. All of us, we're humans, and it is a scary thought, because you think of I would bring it into today's age that we're living in. We're living in a similar kind of thing, where the system that we're living in is not to the same extent of exterminating Jews or gypsies or having homophobic extermination, but we do have lots of divisions and lots of inequalities that the system that we all elect in, that we all get behind, some by choice, some just because, well, this is the way it is. We've found ourselves in this place. And so I suppose I would extrapolate what he was saying to more than that on this day, when we're thinking about Holocaust, when we think about how terrible human beings can be to other human beings just because of they think that they're different, even though a Jew, a German, an Aryan race, whatever division you want to put yourself in, whatever box you found yourself in, that history, that heritage was a man-made concept. Because if you strip everything away from us, we are human beings, all of us, and the culture and the systems and the countries and all that kind of stuff is something we've inherited and learnt to believe in and be patriotic or follow, all this kind of stuff. But it's not actually intrinsically true to the nature of human beings. We are each other, to each other, responsible, and we're equal and we're the same. So any crime you're committing against someone is committing a crime against your fellow brother and sister, your humanity. This isn't some kind of hippie notion. This is the actual truth. But the problem is we all see things in our little bubbles, our little circles, because we see ourselves culturally or by physically, by location, by the country that we're in, because that's the way we've all been brought up. We haven't been brought up to think of ourselves primarily as human beings first. We've been brought up to think of ourselves as British, American, German, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, whatever division that's put us in. And of course that makes us stop seeing us as human beings. And then to extrapolate from what he's saying about the Holocaust and etc., is if you think about all this suffering that's going on that we're involved in, and like he was saying, if he had been in that position where he was a German, what would he have done? Well, I would put us into the same thing and ask you that we're all human beings, yes, and our concentration camp, as it were, is, say, the earth, and the system that we live within that is allowing so much inequalities and injustices, I would say, is like the Nazi Party. So where are you standing? Are you allowing those same things to happen? Because like in the previous podcast about the Afghans that are cutting open themselves just to survive, to sell their organs so they can have a meal. Are you allowing that? What side are you going to be on? Because that's the same kind of injustice as Germans gassing Jews. I mean, I know it's to a different extent, or Rwanda, or whatever Holocaust or event you want to talk about. The same is like the suffering, the children that are being abused, the children that don't have homes, the poor countries around the world, all these things that I've talked about, all these things we all know about that are happening. There's suffering and inequalities, whether it's sexism, racism, whether it's homophobism, whatever it is. All these things boil down to us as being human beings. We've chosen to live well, not all of us have chosen to live. We found ourselves living in this system that isn't working, that is out of date. This is something that was devised 1,000 more years ago. These different systems and how we work with money, and how we only do things if there's money involved. How we don't really, we can't do things because we don't have enough money, because we're worried about our gold, our interest rates. That's why we can't just print it. That's why we can't just help people. That's why we have to have debts and all that kind of stuff. All that kind of man-made concept rubbish that's holding humanity back. I would put that in the same argument as like this guy is saying, to do with the Holocaust. And that's the scary thing. How would you stand? What would you do? Would you become an SS soldier? Would you then stand up against it and say, no, this is wrong, and maybe end up getting killed, or maybe getting laughed at or ridiculed because you're standing up against the majority? That's how a lot of people who talk about truth feel, because that's the way they tend to be treated, as some kind of mad, crazy idiot because they're questioning the very nature of everything else that everyone else just is following without question, because they just want to carry on watching Netflix or Instagram and entertain their way out of life. So that would be the thing. I would say, think about it like that. How are we, or each as individuals, standing in our time? Are we standing up against these falsehoods? Are we trying to change the system that is, if we can't be in 1939 or 40 or 42 when the Holocaust, we can't stop those Germans gassing those Jews. But what we can do is stop the inequalities that are happening right now, right at this minute, every single day, to these people that, that are out there. Even people close to home, people who are suffering because they've lost their home, because they don't have enough money, or they're eating cat food because they can't afford food because they're giving it to their children instead. All these kinds of inequalities that are taking place. It doesn't have to be something extreme as people starving to death, or medicine advancements that are not happening because we're competing against you. All the things I always talk about. That's the question today on Memorial Day. Yes, we've got to remember the Jews that were gassed by the Nazis and all that kind of stuff, and all the different other Rwanda and Chechnya and Bosnia and all those other ones that have taken place. But what I would like also is to think, when people are lighting these candles, is think about, wait a minute, we are actually living in a place that is full of inequalities and injustices that we're allowing to go by, and we're not solving them. We can't just lie behind, well, the powerful people and the rich people don't want to change it. Well, wait a minute, we're all human beings. We all have equal rights to live equally, and to if you want true democracy, then if all of us are given a piece of paper and saying, do we want everyone to live equally, to have the best life they can, everyone to have a house, everyone to have medical care, everyone to have everything, all the rich people have, for everyone to live equally so they all have a nice life, I doubt anyone's going to say no. So if that's the case, that's democracy, so why aren't we doing it? Anyway, take care, God bless, and peace.